call this meeting on Monday, May 29th to order. On the adoption of the agenda, I have 3 late items that I will move on. 2 of them being backup reports from Urban Systems, and then the third, the Urban Systems report regarding the existing water system near the airport in regards to fire safety. And the other backup report would be the Grand Forks floodplain risk management and protection project, a proposal to provide professional consulting services. Third item is regarding the BCRCC issue. May I have a mover to adopt the amendment? Councillor Thompson, Councillor Tripp, second. Discussion, go ahead.
Mayor Conrad. Thank you, Mayor Conrad. Might we receive a little more detail on the BCRCC issue before we adopt
My apologies.
the agenda?
Yes. 2 councillors have requested a little more information on this and more discussion on it because they have an element they want to discuss that they weren't satisfied with the results. Councillor Thompson.
And to that, Your Worship, we've asked that it be brought back for reconsideration at tonight's meeting, the resolution put forward by Councillor Mills.
Councillor Butler.
In the world today, we don't operate on gentlemen's handshakes anymore, but when an organization comes before you and you make an agreement with them, I think it's important that you stick to that agreement, not change your mind after they've left the room. I will not be supporting this amendment.
I agree. I absolutely agree.
So all those in favor of the amendment? The agenda? All those opposed? So the amendment, the agenda has fallen off.
All amendments.
Councillor Butler.
I'll put forward a motion to amend the agenda to include the 2 reports from Urban Systems.
I'd second that.
All those in favor? So carried. May you just remind council that the chair still has 30 days to bring the motion back to the table. Should this happen, if it is requested again, it will be brought back to the table, which will make it more precarious for the so-called handshake agreement. So we can pay the piper now or later. It's your choice. Councillor Thompson.
Through you, Your Worship, to our interim CAO, can the mayor bring it back to the table tonight? Does council have to approve that?
Your Worship, he has the ability to bring it back. However, if it's not on the agenda, it should be put in as a lead item.
Councillor Butler.
In the community charter, one of the responsibilities of the mayor is to represent the will of council, and the will of council is spoken here tonight that we do not want this brought back.
To reiterate on that, Councillor Butler, we do not have a full council in the House tonight, in the chambers, so there is the 1 councillor missing that has had not the opportunity, which is a vital discussion. So may I just inform you of that. For the courtesy out of Councillor Krog, that is one of the reasonings too.
You wanted to bring it back tonight, and Councillor Krog's not here. So how is that the courtesy of Councillor Krog?
Well, if you're saying according to the charter, then I can invoke that element that there's a councillor missing. But it will be brought back to the table, rest assured. Okay, I call the question on the agenda as presented. All in favor? Anyone opposed? So carried.
because.
We made an
Councillor-
amendment, we voted on it, Mr.
Yeah, but
Mayor.
then Councillor Butler put a motion to bring those two reports back, and we voted on that. So
And
we
then you
are-
voted
we
on
are
the
gonna
amended
bring-
agenda, you're good.
You're good. We brought those reports.
Okay, moving on to the minutes portion, 3A. You have a motion to adopt the May 11, 2017 special to go in camera meeting minutes as presented. Councillor Ross, Councillor Thompson. Any discussion? All in favor? Anyone opposed? So carried. Next, I have a motion to adopt the May 11, 2017 special meeting minutes as presented. Councillor Thompson, seconder, please. Councillor Tripp. All those in favor? Oh, discussion, Councillor Thompson.
I would just like to thank our management team and our reporting, the reporter of the minutes. The way they were done is what I've been looking for a long time. And so I would just like to have recorded my compliments to our staff. The job well done.
Are you referring to the meeting we had this morning, the special meeting, May 29th? New
No,
format?
the ones that we're looking at tonight,
Okay.
May the 11th.
Okay, right on. All those in favor? Anyone opposed? So carried. 3C, I have a motion to adopt the May 15th Committee of the Whole meeting minutes as presented. Councillor Thompson, seconder, please. Councillor Ross. Discussion, Councillor Butler.
Mr. Mayor, just a couple amendments to the minutes. On page 11, section D, says Lynn Ralph gave an overview of the current chamber concerns. That should be DBC concerns. Lynn Ralph spoke on behalf of the DBC, not the
I thought it
chamber.
was the DBA. Is it the DBA or the DBC?
They're both committee.
Let me just,
And again on page 14. I just wanted it noted in the minutes that Teresa Taylor spoke in regards to discrimination. Usually when a member of the gallery speaks, they're recorded in the minutes as speaking.
whereabouts is that?
Page 14, section E.
Is it an action item? Looks like only action items.
If you check back in all of our minutes, when people from the gallery speak, it is recorded. That's why they state their name for the record.
I think it's pretty much captured there.
Number one, that was a statement made from the gallery that was not part of a delegation. And at that particular point, if we were to record every statement that was made from a gallery member, we would have about 40 pages of agenda minutes. So I beg to differ.
Point of order, we need a seconder before we can discuss the amendment.
Okay. So there's my comment. Now we have a seconder. Any other discussion on the amendment? Councillor Thompson?
I would like to see and suggest that the amendments be broken into two. I can support the one, I can't support the other.
So, first one was from Lynn
Then Ralph?
Ralph, so it's a housekeeping item, so, I mean, I look at that and could be viewed in many other ways. Maybe a letter missing, but we can change it if this, because it could read also concerns with the chamber, so unfortunately we can do it the other way, DBC. The housekeeping. Thank you. The second one, okay, so all in favor of that amendment?
Well, there's got to be
I need a motion, an actual motion. Yeah.
two motions. And there's already one to have both of them. So we could call the question on that. I won't be able to support it.
Okay.
and can't support, well, a portion of it, so.
So let's call the question. All those in favor? Anyone opposed? That motion is defeated. Amendment, I should say. And so now let's have a new.
So I'll put forward an amendment to state that Renoff spoke on behalf of the DBC.
Seconder, please, Councilor Tripp. All those in favor? Anyone opposed? So carried. Now, is there another motion to be put forward to an amendment? Hearing none. All those in favor of the amended minutes, the committee of the whole as presented? Anyone opposed? So carried. Moving on to item 3D. We have a motion to adopt the May 15th regular meeting minutes as presented. Mover, please, Councilor Tripp. Councilor Thompson. Any discussion? All in favor? Anyone opposed? So carried. Okay, moving on to the item 6A. I have a motion to receive all written reports of council submitted to the May 29th regular meeting be received. Councilor Ross, Councilor Thompson. All those in favor?
Discussion?
Okay. Usually we don't discuss reports, but go ahead.
Yeah, in my report, Mr. Mayor, I started including my questions highlighted so that they wouldn't be missed by staff or council, so that we actually have an opportunity to have our questions answered during the discussion period of the report. So within my report, I have highlighted some questions that I was curious about. I had noticed that we've been advertising in the newspaper that we are now enforcing our parking bylaw. And when I went and looked up this bylaw, there was some issues with it. I just wasn't sure if we were enforcing the whole bylaw. And we also have another parking bylaw on the books, apparently according to our previous CAO, with regards to the downtown core that isn't on our website. So are we enforcing all of our parking bylaws, part of our parking bylaws? And I'm just wondering, what is the policy surrounding that and how this is dealt with?
Or CAO, Ms. Heinrich. Councilor Butler, your microphone.
Your worship, the parking bylaws that we have right now are basically done by complaints. We don't go out and issue parking tickets at the moment, and there's nothing that would say that we would be issuing parking downtown right now. It would take a lot more research in that than to just run that bylaw. So anything that's happened right now is just because there was some complaints, and so we just wanted the public to be aware that we do have certain things surrounding parking that need to be adhered to, and so it was just a little piece of the paper.
Councilor Butler.
Because within that parking bylaw, it states that we're not allowed to park on the boulevards, which is the space between the edge of the pavement and the sidewalk. And as you know, everybody in town parks on the boulevards. So can people now phone in and complain that people are parking on the boulevards? There's also another one that says you can't park a utility trailer of any kind on the side of the road overnight. Is this one now going to be enforced as well? I don't see how we can cherry pick it.
To our CAO again.
Your worship, as said before, that it is driven by complaints, and so we had a couple of complaints, and so that we don't go out looking for this. It's that somebody put in a complaint, and so we had to react to it. So yes, Councillor Butler is right, that if somebody phoned in on a complaint that somebody's on the boulevard, then our bylaw enforcement officer would go out. And it's 2 issued warnings, and then I believe the third one is a $50 fine.
Thank you. Councilor Tripp.
Thank you for that information. Thank you, Mayor Conrad. In my neighborhood, that's going to be a major issue because I live right up by the school board, and several times a week school board meetings are held and people park all along the boulevard because there's no other parking. So I don't know, that's problematic.
So be it. It'll be addressed.
If there's a complaint now.
Yeah, if there's a complaint, it'll be
Neighbors
addressed.
have already complained to me.
Oh.
Well, they should be complaining to the city and not necessarily.
Well, now that they know that they can, maybe they will.
Okay. All those in favor of receipt? Anyone opposed? So carried. Moving on to item 7A, verbal report from council's representative to the RDKB, that would be myself. Here we go. May 23rd, I attended the Community Economic Development Regional Forum. We had 7 guest speakers, including our own Director Russell from Area D. This forum's focus was valuing agriculture as an economic driver. Discussion hinged on the value of every dollar spent on local agriculture gets recirculated through the local economy. There was also discussions on nurseries, as a presenter came forward, and their financial impact and the workforce numbers. Other speakers commented and discussed. It's very lengthy, so I'm cutting it short. There was discussions, very interesting discussions on farmers markets, on co-ops, especially the Kootenai Co-op in Nelson, which opened in December of 2016 with its huge condo development integrated. Very, very interesting concept for economic development and the pluses that it brings. May 24th, I attended the RDKB board meeting in Grand Forks. Some of the main topics relating to Grand Forks were the VCUOMA, which is the VC Used Oil Manufacturing Association. The board was to reinform VCUOMA of the RDKB rental opportunities where appropriate and where VCUOMA has not provided access to used oil recycling depots, specifically in Grand Forks, Rock Creek, and Beaverdale. The board was also going to write to the Ministry of Environment requesting they compel VCUOMA to deliver access to used oil recycling services in compliance with the recycling regulation. Then there was a discussion on possibly moving to 2 board meetings a month rather than a committee of the whole, or COW as they call it, and 1 board meeting. And it is with regret that Director G has informed us that the AGM of the Okanagan Film Commission will not be held in Grand Forks as was formerly proposed. May 25th, I attended a development session with Jerry Berry on discussions on governments, and referrals were made from George Cuff. Some of the subject matter contained in that was from Mr. Berry. Being respectful in meetings with no machines during meetings, i.e. machines are referred to cell phones, computers, is just a respectful to your other fellow councillors and to staff. Also, the illegality to access the CAO's background. Then there was topic conversation on executive governments, which is an interesting book from George Cuff. And also a situation where if we have any questions addressed to us by gallery members or the media, and there was an error, so the best way to handle this would be, if this occurs, my apologies, and we will look into it. Managing conflict. Disagree, but agreeably and respectfully. And as far as council conduct, we should use the orchestral conductor model, which means every musician has to play together, but to the same music. Very interesting forum that was, and that concludes my report. May I have a motion to receive? Councillor Thompson, Councillor Hammond, Mr. Butler.
The question on everyone's lips out there today is mosquito control. Has the RDKB started mosquito control this year, or are they working with the same contractors last year? How's that being carried out?
Absolutely. I was already talking to Alan Stanley, as a matter of fact, while we had the flood situation, and we already went up in the helicopter to view some of the flooding areas, and it was pointed out that a lot of areas in the northern part of the valley were already addressed, and there was quite a considerable amount that they were doing, and it was actually the company that was doing the mosquito control that we were in the helicopter with. So it's definitely already there on a go, but they also said because of all the water, it's going to be a tough year. So, and we're having resistance from certain landowners or property owners in the northern part, the Granby and that are just reluctantly refusing to come onto their property. So But other than that, yes, to answer your question, absolutely, they're already hard at it, and it's being addressed. Okay. All those in favor to receive? Anyone opposed? So carried. Okay, moving on to our Manager of Development Engineering Services, subject matter approval to proceed with applying for grant funding for floodplain protection. And the recommendation is that council direct staff to proceed with preparing and submitting an application for the Gas Tax Strategic Priorities Program grant for 100% funding of Phase 1 of 3-phase multi-year floodplain study and flood protection program for the Grand Forks floodplain. May I have a mover, please? Councillor Thompson, Councillor Tripp. Discussion, Councillor Butler.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Just one quick question. The information that we've received for Farm Urban Systems for the grant funding is in the neighborhood of $225,000. Is that just for the first phase, and it's supposed to take a year? Will there be more on top of that?
Sorry, on microwave, but
Microwave.
Yes, this is the first phase. It's a multi-year project. The first phase is basically to study our floodplain, and there's a multitude of variables involved, and it's a very large study. And so this would be the first step. And then once we have the study, then we could look at costing for future years. I'd just like to add that we did put $50,000 in the budget for 2017 for beginning the study. We put $50,000 in the budget for 2018 as well. And we put $500,000 in the budget for 2021, and this is too small, I think 2023. And so the idea is to leverage that money for grant funding. And so although this is 100% funding, we will put in the grant application that we did allocate money for this study previously to show that we're already well on our way with this project, and that it shows well for the community in terms of getting the grant, that we've already set aside money to look into this issue.
Has everyone received this, by the way?
By email, electronically.
Just today, though. It was, yeah, just today. So I think
It was a late item, I guess we won't have time to late items. Councillor Tripp?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Conrad. Yeah, I think this shows a really proactive approach to our needs in this area, and certainly we've seen that this spring with all the flooding, and so I think it's a good idea to to be proactive and to go ahead. However, I just was wondering, with the Urban Systems report, there are some costs in there that, I was looking at it, I'm certainly no expert, but there were some community engagement costs. I think they were in the neighborhood of 30-some-odd thousand or something like that for each one. And I guess a couple of my questions would be, are we really in need of that amount of money spent on community engagement? Is that, I realize that this report was probably prepared for another community and a lot of it transferred over in terms of application to our scenario. So I just wondered about that. The other thing I was wondering about is if this goes forward, if the grant application is accepted, and is it based solely on this report from Urban Systems, or would there be a possibility of having any other company, like would you do an RFP for work or anything like that?
Our manager.
Mr. Mayor, Urban Systems is our engineer on contract, and they know our systems and they know things better than anybody, but this is just an estimate, and their contract is running out, so it would depend on when the grant is announced, and we will be going out for an RFP for an engineering firm this year. So it would be, we would probably still go out for RFP on this project.
With them?
Councillor
Thank
Thompson
you.
and Councillor Butler.
Well, thank you, through you, to our Manager of Development and Engineering. The $30,000 for community engagement is only a budget estimate, and we would not necessarily have to spend all of that in community engagement, but it's an allowance to consult with the public and get their comments on the project. Am I correct in that?
Yeah, it's just, this is a huge issue. It involves our entire downtown core, it involves Interport, it involves Roxall, it involves, there's so much land mass in Grand Forks that is in the floodplain that there's going to have to be substantial public outreach on this topic.
I'll just go ahead and jump in there since I was next in line.
Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, I was also thinking about maybe getting some other quotes for this project because it is such a costly endeavor. And I looked at our purchasing policy 802A1, and there were 4 reasons why we could sole source for an agreement, and one of them was for consultants. And I didn't realize that we had Urban Systems on contract. I thought we used different consultants for different things, but I would actually like to see that contract and see exactly what we're tied into. Anything over $25,000, it says that council could that staff is supposed to require a report to come to council as to why they're sole sourcing. I don't know if we need the Cadillac. Maybe we could settle for the Chevy. Maybe we could get some other opinions from different firms as to just how much this should cost. I mean, I know if I was a consulting firm, I would want to provide the very best and get as much as I could for the contract. So maybe there's other contractors out there that have different ways of doing things that might be more cost effective. I'd like to check into that before just sole sourcing this project. But to apply for the grant funding, I imagine this would be a good way to go, just to submit this to start with. But I'm just wondering, once the grant is announced, can we then change consulting firm if we decided to?
Yeah, we can go for RFP. We need to keep in mind that when Urban Systems provides this information, puts together this information, they're not getting paid for it. The way they recoup with these projects is when and if we get the grant. So it's part of being our contract engineers.
And based on the knowledge base that Urban Systems has, would it not be advisable to stick with a firm that has so much background history on the city of Grand Forks?
Yeah, in many situations that's true. We do have the engineering reports available for other engineering firms, and we would make them available. They are public documents, so we would make them available for the contract and for the RFP. We'd definitely be looking for some very specialized and expertise in this, and Urban Systems may or may not have the expertise for this project, so we would be going out for RFP as well.
Thank you. Councillor Butler.
Yeah, speaking in that regards, our purchasing policy does speak to this as well. It says, in addition to the objectives outlined above, city employees will demonstrate ethical purchasing behavior, including competition, while considering the advantages of the City of Grand Forks maintaining a continuing relationship with the supplier. Any arrangement which might prevent the effective operation of fair competition should be avoided. So in all of our contracts, that we don't want to just stick to always using the same one. We want to include fair competition and make sure we get the best price.
Okay. Call the question. All those in favor? Anyone opposed? So carried. Recommendations from staff. Yes, again. Manager of Development and Engineering Services, approval to proceed with applying for grant funding for the improved water supply to the airport for fire safety. Recommendations: council support staff in proceeding with the preparing and submitting an application for the Gas Tax Strategic Priorities Program grant for 100% funding of engineering and installation of replacement and enhancement of water supply mains to the airport. Mover, please. Councillor Butler, Councillor Thompson. Discussion. Councillor Butler.
Yeah, I think this is an excellent opportunity to promote economic development out at the airport. I can't remember, something's in camera now, so I don't want to mention it, but to get businesses up there and to expect them to pay the development cost charges for installing the stuff is prohibitive. So hopefully we can be successful in getting this grant. I'm just curious, though, there's so many great projects out there that we have in our capital plan. How did staff decide on these two for the applications?
Mayor, we had a meeting with Urban Systems. We had several meetings with Urban Systems, identified and some insider knowledge apparently that disaster mitigation is going to be big on, last year was water sewer, this year we've heard kind of through the grapevine that disaster mitigation is big this year. So we looked at a number of projects and then looked at what we already had budgeted for, which was floodplain, and also the airport. 2 years ago we had the fires. I don't remember the exact number, but I believe at one time we had 29 helicopters landing up there, and we don't actually have sufficient fire flows at the airport for fires. So we are a regional base, and we are one of, we're the only night landing airport between Kelowna and the BC border. So we do have, it is regional, and that's one of those that, there's 3 things for the grants, and one of them is regional in impact, and so our airport is most certainly regional, as is our floodplain mapping is regional in impact as well. So those are just one of the 3, the 3 components that they're kind of looking for in the grants, and so that's we focus on those keywords in the grant packages where they're looking for, and that's one of them for sure.
Councillor Hammond.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, could either the CAO or our manager of engineering advise us as to what portion of our funding we're getting from regional district to cover some of this, because the grant will only cover a certain percentage, and I know the regional district doesn't want to be involved anymore in airports, although we have gone after them in the past to pay more for the use of our airport. So I'm just wondering if we'll be getting any funding towards this from the regional district.
It's 100% funded.
This is 100%?
Yes, 100%. Okay. Okay, I'm going to call the question. All those in favor? Anyone opposed? So carried. Moving on to our information items. Chief Financial Officer, subject matter memo regarding the first quarter 2017 financial reports. Recommendations council receives for information a memorandum from the Chief Financial Officer regarding quarter 1 2017 financial reports. Please, Councillor Thompson, Councillor Butler. Discussion, Councillor Butler and Councillor Tripp.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. On the financial statements, obviously none of our capital projects have been undertaken yet because they had to wait for budget approval to get started on them. But I have promised a few members of the public that I would ask about the expo sign. I haven't driven out there in the last few days. I don't know, has that project been started yet, or can we expect it to be started quickly? Because it was quite a mess the last time I drove by it.
It's Kevin's project. Kevin's not here today, so but we are continuing working.
So we'll get information.
They're very large signs, so there's an engineer component to them.
No, I wasn't actually asking about the wayfaring signage. I was asking about the expo sign itself, the overgrown grass area.
That was where one of the large signs was going to go. That was one of the chosen locations for that. So I would think until we've determined what's happening there, but then otherwise I guess it would be a maintenance, perhaps a maintenance issue.
Well, perhaps we could address that to our manager of operations. Councillor Tripp.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I just was hoping that the CFO would be thanked for having this report available to us. I just really feel it's helpful, and I'm very grateful that she provided this report for this meeting.
Okay. Unless there's any other discussion, all those in favor? Anyone opposed? So carried. There's no bylaws to deal with, so we'll move right on into late items. And our manager of development and engineering, we have the improved water supply, the airport for fire safety. The recommendation is to receive backup reports, I would say.
Yes, Your Worship, it's just to receive the backups. They were part and parcel of the 2 grant applications.
So may I have a mover, please? Councillor Ross, Councillor Butler. All those in favor? Anyone opposed? So carried. Our second late item is again a backup report from the Grand Forks Floodplain Risk Management and Protection Project. It's proposed to provide professional consulting services from Urban Systems May I have a mover to receive? Backup report, Councillor Ross, Councillor Butler. All those in favor? Anyone opposed? So carried. Now move on to question period from the public and the media. Again, please concentrate on the subject matter.
Yes,
Go
Your
ahead.
Worship. Thank you, Kate Sailors for the Grand Forks Gazette. Perhaps it's in the late items, but since I don't have either of those reports yet, I was just wondering at the total values for each of these grant applications.
Our manager of development.
Sir, I think the reports were downstairs on the table.
Oh, okay, maybe I missed them, yeah.
But if they're not down there.
They're on the website too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Any other questions? Hearing none, may I have a motion to adjourn? Councillor Ross. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. This meeting's adjourned.